Welcome back to Parents vs. Gaming, episode 45. I'm joined by my amazing, lovely co-host, basically the face of the show, Kia. Kia, how are you?
I'm good. I'm a hot mess, but I'm good.
And of course, this week we have special guest Nichelle Martin, or Nikki as we will call her in this, just so we don't mess it up. Nichelle, why don't you go ahead and dive right in and tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you come from, all that fun stuff.
Okay, well, I'm super excited to be here. Not really, because I actually hate being live in front of people, but here we are. So we live in a tiny town in East Texas right now, Northeast Texas. We moved here from Wyoming, and before that we were in England, and before that we were in Alaska. So you can guess we're military. My husband's actually deployed right now. And I've got 2 kids at home, a farm. I'm a professional travel agent. We have our own online wellness business and coaching service. And do a lot of other random stuff, I guess. I don't really know what there is to say about me.
So you're a little bit of all over the place.
Yeah.
All
Very
right.
busy.
So we're kind of going to dive right into it. Kia and I, we talk a lot about, we try to help parents that whether they might not understand gaming, whether their kids game, maybe their spouse's game, whether it's the female, whether it's the husband or the wife or the girlfriend or boyfriend, and people can't handle it. And today, obviously, we were bringing you on because we want to talk about how you have decided to let your son stream, do live game streaming. Now, before we dive into it, are you a big video game person, Nikki? Did you grow up playing video games? What's your history?
I did. I will say, though, my whole family is more of like PlayStation, Call of Duty, whereas I really enjoyed things like Halo, God of War, those kinds of games. And so I was more of like an Xboxer, they're PS, and we kind of whittled it down to just one. And because they're all PlayStation people, I kind of got outnumbered on what console we had because we only have one TV.
Well, they all can't be perfect, I guess. So do you have a favorite game yourself? That you, not that you've watched, that you've actually played and at least almost beaten?
Probably Halo.
Listen, Kia, we have to give her some mad respect, I guess. I've known
Halo.
Nikki for a long time.
Good
I
one.
didn't know you've beaten Halo.
Yeah.
That's
That was a long time ago, but
so you know how to play first-person games.
I do.
That's impressive. Okay, now let's dive into this a little bit. I know that you know a little bit about the streaming world because of me, because we are friends, and you've seen some of my setups, and you laugh at me because I use it for my professional job as well. But you decided to let your son get involved in this.
Yes.
So how did this come about? How did it start? Where did it come from?
Well, he's actually been wanting to stream for maybe a couple years, maybe like 3. We didn't let our kids watch a lot of TV or anything when they were really, really young. But we moved here and just, that's what they got into for the most part. And in the summer, unless you're in the water where we live, it's almost too hot to be outside some days, especially like today with the heat index.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Like, it is, I would much rather have them be playing their video games together or separately than arguing and bickering because they can't agree on something to do otherwise when we're all cooped up in the house. So he started off watching like YouTubers and then like Dan TDM. And when he was initially watching, we really, because they were pretty young. He was only, I think, like 7 when he started watching streamers. So he had some rules. But overall, we just give our kids the rules that they're supposed to follow and then give them the freedom to make the choice of whether or not they're going to follow them. So we don't actually like restrict the channels or anything.
Okay.
And then if we find out that they chose not to follow the rules, then they lose their privileges.
Okay. Any follow-up there, Kia?
I mean, Kane doesn't really watch a lot of YouTubers if I don't approve of them, then he's not allowed to watch them. Period. End statement. But he's also younger, so I mean, he's only 6. He'll be 7 in September. But when he first started watching YouTubers, it was Think Noodles, big Minecraft person. So he watched Think Noodles. He watches. There's a couple other ones that he watches that I'm not like a huge fan of, but they're okay. Like they don't have like really bad language. They keep it very friendly for kids and stuff like that. So I let him watch some of them. Dak Blake is another one of them. He does, and my biggest thing is like I always try to remind him that some of these games, these people he sees them play, they're playing with mods. They're not playing like the base game. Like a lot of times he's like, "Oh, that's so cool. I want to be able to do that." I'm like, "And we don't have the mod for that." So, no.
And
So,
Nikki, do
just
you
try
know
to
what it means
remember.
when she says mods in a game? Do you understand that part?
Like game and modifications, map modifications, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got you.
So you've decided. So your son that streams, he's 12, I believe, right?
10.
10. Oh, 10.
Yeah, this is Caleb. Van
Okay.
is 12. Not super interested in streaming, but Van actually has been invited to do like beta testing for like Mobile Legends and games like that. And he does like he's been invited to do design work for like design collabs for some of his other games that he plays, but he's not into the streaming or anything. So Caleb's 10 and he'll be 11 in July.
Okay. So he's decided he's going to stream now. From what I understand, he has chosen to live stream on TikTok.
Yes.
Okay. So and he live streamed Roblox.
Yes.
Okay. So how did he set up? Walk us through his process here. I'm curious how a 10-year-old sets it all up, because he was pretty creative, I heard.
Yes, he really, really wanted, like, really wants to use video games in some way to make money. But I've told both my kids, I'm not responsible to teach you how to earn the money. You know, I'll help you. But if there's something you're really passionate about doing, you need to take the initiative and go, you know, try to figure it out yourself before just asking other people to help you. So I guess there's a feature on TikTok that allows you to add live streaming to your feed, but he hadn't gotten approved. I don't know if it's because he didn't have enough followers or what it was, but he hasn't gotten approved yet. He said it hadn't got denied either, but he couldn't do it. So he asked me if he could borrow my iPad, and then he set up my iPad and then propped up his iPad to do the stream on, like, just of him playing on my iPad.
It's pretty smart.
Pretty smart.
Now, from what I read, he made money off the stream.
Yeah, he made $20 from that stream.
Okay, so was this donations or somebody? How did he make $20?
I guess how.
Wait. First, I want to know, how long did he stream?
I think only like an hour or so.
Listen, Kia, I don't know what we're doing, but he made $20 in 1 hour in his first stream.
That's good.
When's the last time you made $20 in 1 hour, Kia?
It's been a while.
Okay, so how does he make $20 on the stream?
I guess now I wasn't there the whole time he was doing it, so I mean I don't know like if people were requesting him to do certain actions or do certain things in the game and he did them. But I guess in TikTok, people like give you gifts and the gifts are worth a certain amount of dollars and then cents. Like some of them are only worth like a penny. And then at the end, like when you have X amount of dollars, you're allowed to transfer it to your PayPal.
Okay, that seems almost easier than Twitch.
Right.
we only get paid if we reach the $100. Well, first you got to get affiliate.
Yeah, and then you have to reach the $100 payout. So it has to be at $100 or you don't get paid out. Like you don't get payout. But for those who are kind of curious about that, if for some reason you don't hit that $100 mark, it rolls over into the next month and it accumulates until you do hit that $100, and then it will cash out for you. So it does accumulate. So it doesn't like, it's not like, oh, you didn't make the $100, so you don't
lose it. Yeah.
you lose it. It accumulates. So don't think you're gonna lose it or anything like that. It's just gonna accumulate.
Yeah, it took me 7 months to get my first $100. Stop judging me, Kia.
I'm not judging.
10-year-olds over here making $20 an hour. So what kind of rules, what kind of things do you watch his stream? What would be some of your, I guess, advice to other parents? You know, I follow a Facebook group that's to help parents with kids gaming, parents and kids gaming and stuff. And it's constant questions from moms and dads going, hey, my kid wants to stream, or my kid wants this game. How do you decide what games he's allowed to play, and what's your rules with him on stream?
So there's not really any games that he's not allowed to play. Like, we allow him to play Grand Theft Auto, and we allow him to play basically anything he wants to.
Well, if he's playing Grand Theft Auto, there's not much left.
There's not much left.
He does understand that that is not things, like, those are not things he's allowed to repeat in real life. That is not how we talk to other people. That's not how we treat other people. And if I see him emulating things that he sees or hears in the game that's inappropriate for him to be saying or doing, then he again loses the privilege to be doing those things. So, because I really do believe that it's my job as a parent to teach my kid how to live and thrive in the real world versus protecting them and sheltering them from everything and then being like, okay, you're 18 years old now, go out and be an adult. Like, I really feel like if we can kind of allow our kids to experience these things while they're at home, and we're there to kind of help guide them through it and help them make the choices along the way, that when they turn 18, you know, I know a lot of us probably grew up super sheltered, and then when we turned 18, moved out of the house, we went a little bit crazy. So I'm kind of hoping that that's something that I can avoid with my kids, and they'll maybe make better choices when they do go out into the real world. Maybe a little bit safer ones.
Oh.
Now, Kia, I know in your stream, for those that are listening to the recording, you can watch us either on my stream or Kia's stream on Twitch every week. Kia, if you want to give a shout out, I saw you had a raid over there.
I did. Shacomatic actually just raided me. He plays a lot of Apex Legends. He's crazy cracked at it. I love watching him and my friend Demi. They are both insane players. Bastel in there. They are both insane players, and Shock actually just raided me and sent me all his people. So
Hey guys, so everyone, welcome to our podcast. Kia, do you have any follow-up questions for Nikki here? From a mom to a mom.
I don't know. I think I had something and then I lost it when you asked me that question about my raid. This is what mom brain does to you, okay, guys? Like, you have something and then it just disappears. It'll come back later.
I know in past episodes, Kia, we talk a lot about, we'll have parents ask us, what do you think is okay for my kid to play? And we have constantly said, if you're not comfortable having the conversation with your kid about what's in the game, then your kid shouldn't be playing the game.
Then your kid should not be playing the game, yes. I think a lot of, like she was saying, like how some people grew up sheltered. I, in fact, was not extremely sheltered, but I was the oldest of 5 kids. And so I did do a lot of babysitting. I did not get to go out and do crazy stuff as a teenager. And even as an adult, like once I was out of the house, like I really didn't do too much crazy things. But I feel that a lot of that boils down to the parenting, and she's obviously comfortable with explaining and telling her kids that it's, like, this is not something we do in real life. This is not how we treat people. Like, this is, like, to me, that's great because she's willing to discuss that. There's a lot of parents, they're like, oh, I'm not willing to discuss it. Well, then your kid should not be playing that video game. Period. End of statement. Your kid should not play that video game if you cannot discuss what happens in that game. Because there's some sketchy stuff that happens in the game. So if you're not willing to, then you just don't let your kid play it. But yeah, no, I think she's doing great because she's willing to do it. So I think that's honestly, her kids will be fine. They'll get out in the world and be like, yep, that don't want to do that.
Nikki, my other question for you is with all the stuff he can play, how did he come down to choosing Roblox as far as the game he was going to stream?
Because he can't stream Call of Duty right now because our internet where we live isn't good enough to support the graphics and live stream play. So that is another reason why he chose to go, live on TikTok versus other forums like YouTube where you have to constantly upload and download things. Our internet supports it better, which because we have basically none. So that part isn't fantastic. So Roblox is something that he's enjoyed playing for quite some time. He watches like some of his favorite streamers and YouTubers play it. But I mean, their basic rules are, you're not allowed to tell people what your age is. You're not allowed to tell people where you live. You can tell people your first name only. You're not allowed to contact these people outside of the gaming system that you're on unless they're willing to give like me their parents' number and I can FaceTime with their parents. And he's actually made a couple friends that way. But their parents were willing to FaceTime me. So otherwise, like, he's not allowed to just randomly like call somebody, even though he has an iPad with, has the ability to do. He's not allowed to, and we monitor them. Like, we'll check in on his live when he does his lives. We'll check in on their TikTok accounts because both the boys have TikTok accounts, and we always worry. I think a big thing more is like, are they going to get bullied? Is somebody going to say something to them that's going to really affect them deeply? But they're like, no, if somebody says this, we know they're bullying and we just block them right away. So they don't really entertain those conversations. They'll block the people that are being mean or saying negative things, and they don't respond. They're not allowed to give out certain pieces of information. And so far, they've both done a really good job of following the rules we've laid out for them.
And Kia, your thoughts on that?
That's exactly what I would do. If Kane were 2, that's exactly what I would be doing as well. I mean, the rules are laid out, and it boils down to if you really want to do this and you follow my rules, then we won't have a problem. The second you break a rule, then we're gonna have an issue. But that's actually a really good way to set those ground rules. Like, that's what I've said in the past when it comes to kids streaming. As a parent, you always worry about the bullies, the predators. You worry so much about that. So as a parent, those ground rules are absolutely phenomenal. I love those ground rules. Like, I personally would set those rules for my son as well. And as a streamer, as a parent who also streams, if my child wants to, I'd be more than happy to like help him with any type of setup if he had questions. But I would also like check in on him, make sure he's there, like make sure everything's okay, make sure there's nobody in there asking indecent things or being ugly. That's what we always say. We're like, don't be ugly. Like we always tell them like, don't be ugly, not necessarily just rude, just don't be ugly to people. Like, you never know what they've gone through or what they're going through. So try to be as nice as possible. Without compromising yourself at the same time. So, and he's like his mama, his heart's on his sleeve. So it worries me so much because I know how big my heart can be, and I'm just like, oh baby. But that's my biggest fear, because he's expressed interest in wanting to stream and be a gamer, and as a parent, I'm 100, like, I support that. Like, if that's what you really want to do, I will help you, and I will help you, but you have to be willing to do for yourself as well. So yeah, those ground rules are absolutely phenomenal, and as a parent, I would recommend that you make sure you set ground rules. That's always my thing. Like, make sure you set those rules for your kids, and make sure that they understand too, because a lot of times when we set rules for kids, what do they do? I mean, they get upset, right? Because they're like, oh, it's not fair. Okay, these rules are in place to protect you, nobody else. They're there to protect you. So like, try to explain that to them too if they get like a little upset about certain things. Be like, look, this is why I did it this way, because I know I was that kid. Like, please explain to me why you're doing this. I need to know. But yeah.
So let
I don't
me,
know.
before asking another question, Nikki, I just want to give a recap to anyone that's jumped into the live, or maybe you're a little bit late. Again, if you're listening to the recording or watching this on YouTube later, you can always watch us live on Sunday evenings at 8 o'clock Central Time on either of the Twitch channels that you see, myself, James, or Kia Kane. So real quick, Kia and I are here with special guest Nikki, Nichelle Martin. She is a mom who has decided that her 10-year-old son is allowed to stream. He streams on TikTok. He was able to make $20 in his first stream, more than half of us on Twitch make. TikTok apparently also lets you cash out really quickly on lower amounts, so he got to enjoy that. So if you're in the live chat on any of the platforms, please feel free to reach out, ask Nikki questions, ask me or Kia questions, and we'll kind of involve you into our discussion here. So Nikki, going along with what Kia says about kind of laying the ground rules, and you mentioned the ground rules that you have, being that he's 10, what happens if he doesn't follow the rules that you have set aside? What's for any parent out there that's like, okay, how do you follow through with any kind of punishment?
Obviously, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about exactly what rule he broke and why that rule is so important and what the potential ramifications of breaking that rule could be, what kind of outcomes could result from that. And then, of course, loss of privileges for a while, more conversations. We're big on conversations here. You know, my kids have known where babies come from since they were 4 years old. We live on a farm, so it's kind of hard to avoid. But I'd rather my kids know the truth from me about any subject than something from their 10-year-old friend who saw something on the internet, because maybe their parents don't monitor what they watch, or maybe their parents don't have those conversations with them. Because some of those conversations are really uncomfortable, especially, you know, when you're a mom and you got little boys, or you're a dad and you got little girls. Like, those conversations can be uncomfortable, but they're really important to have. So, you know, talking about it, and then, you know, when they can say, okay, I will do it this way, and then continuous monitoring until they can prove that they do. And then again, letting them have the freedom to make the choice to do the right thing or do the wrong thing. Because I don't think that just restricting your kids from doing anything to help them avoid doing the wrong thing teaches them how to make the right choices.
No, absolutely. I agree with that. So getting a little bit away with kind of this and jumping into something else. One thing I'm curious about, I know you don't really restrict him on what he plays, but a lot of the games you mentioned are very well-known games. Granted, Grand Theft Auto is pretty high up there. It's not much that's going to come out that's gonna be anything more aggressive. But what if he comes to you, says he wants a game, and you've never heard of the game before? What's kind of your go-to on how do you figure it out on whether or not they can play it?
I mean, it's kind of like you already said. We let them play Grand Theft Auto, and they do know they're not allowed to say those things. Those are not realistic situations. That's not how we act in the real world. But to me, there's no difference in Grand Theft Auto and the make-believe world of Halo. Like, just because one's set in the real world and one's not, and there might be less swearing in one.
I mean, listen, the last time I checked, Master Chief's not rolling up on his vehicle and picking up a hooker at the outpost.
Okay, my kids still think that's disgusting.
The armadillo's not like rocking in the corner. I mean,
they don't participate.
So I don't think you really. I mean, Halo's teen and Grand Theft Auto is mature. That's like the worst comparison.
My kids don't play that part of the game. They have zero
You're like,
interest
the
in
Smurfs and porn are basically the same thing. The Smurfs are cartoons, and porn uses real life people. Like, that's.
Okay, I was referring mostly to like the killing and stuff.
So
we've had
that's a good point. So Grand Theft Auto definitely has like a
yeah, the violence concerns parents more than the prostitution.
Okay, so there are games like a game getting ready to come out. But like a game getting ready to come out, Kia, I don't know if you've seen this. It's called Callisto Protocol. It's made by the original Dead Space developers. It's a horror game, but the violence and the like gore in it is it might be some of the most we've ever seen.
I guess
Like,
I haven't heard
is
of
that
it.
something you'd let him play?
I'd probably, ask him to see like the game previews or like watch a walkthrough of somebody else playing it. Personally, like, or not personally, but he is not really into horror type stuff. That would be something my 12-year-old would be more interested in playing, but he really likes watching horror films. We let him watch horror films. Of course, we started off by watching them with him so that, we could answer questions or be there for him if he needed us, or turn it off so he didn't feel pressured to watch something with his friends because they called him a scaredy cat.
Yeah.
So that would definitely be something that my older son would be but he's 12, so he's not exponentially older or anything. That's not really something he would be interested in playing. But of course, we always kind of check it out a little bit and we play with them. And since, again, we only have one TV in our house, I'm always watching what they're playing. And same thing as we always hear what they're saying, and we always hear kind of what's going on, just like, my son's received comments of "you're gay," and his response is always like, "That's not an insult," and he just like goes on with it like that. But I mean, they need to know how to respond to those kinds of things too, without like making it into a big argument or turn it into a big deal.
Okay, I have a friend in here, Bluey, who has some comments on the whole GTA Halo thing. Okay.
Sure. You brought this on yourself, Nikki. If
Okay.
you
All
didn't-
right. Okay. So at first, Bluey would say psychologically, Halo and GTA are entirely opposite, but how that stuff manifests with a kid will be different, which is very true, because different kids take different things.
Mhm.
It's just how their brains work. It's what makes us all unique. We would live in a very boring world if we were all the same. And Bluey also said GTA is more realistic in its nature, and Halo is more deemed childish or just unrealistic. But then the language difference kind of becomes a problem depending on the kid's mental state. You can have 5 kids play GTA 5, and 4 of them may understand that it's not okay to talk the way they talk in the game with some of the language they use. Then the one kid might not just compute with that understanding and say those words whenever they get upset, which is very true. Like it's with anything, different kids take different things, and that's when I come in and I say that's when it's on the parent to know whether their child can handle it mentally, like with their maturity level. What their maturity level is really what depends on whether you should allow your child to play that game. Blue also said Blue used to play with some mom, and she let her 5-year-old son play GTA 5. And when he got mad at school one day, he told his teacher to shut the fuck up, slut. So once again, that really boils down to the parents and knowing whether their child can handle that type of thing. Obviously, you understand and you know your child, like every parent should know their child very well in that aspect of whether they can handle that type of game. You obviously know that your child can. You talk with your child, you let them know, like, hey, this is not something we do in real life. This isn't what we say. Okay. Well, it's really difficult to understand that stuff even because at young ages is when most of the human behaviors first manifest in their basic nature. So it's really difficult navigating way to deal with stuff as well as preventing it. So yeah, it boils down to whether you feel like if your child, like their mentality, if they can actually handle it at a mature level. And every child matures at a different level as well. So not every a 6-year-old boy the same age as my son may not be on the same mature level. Like it's just every child matures differently.
Yeah.
So,
but I think it's kind of a testament how. Go ahead, Nikki.
As I say, my kids are also 11 and 12, and the types of games they choose to play are different. We're also a military family. They've grown up with their father deploying and been on the phone with him while their base was getting attacked and he had to go. And so, I mean, they've been through real life situations, and, you know, sometimes people live in really, really nice, like, great areas and, like, schools that they've got a lot of, you know, benefits, whereas, like, we live in a super rural area and we have kids who, like, we still have people around us who literally, like, disown people because they marry somebody of another race or get pregnant at 14, or our high school still has the girls can't wear shorts that are higher than their knees because it might cause boys to be, you know,
Distracted.
cool. Yes, and I went to bat for girls in my school and that, but just like my kids know that women are not objects, and
Yep.
just like they're not allowed to repeat that language. But my 12-year-old son has zero interest in playing those kinds of games. You know, he likes more artistic stuff, and my other son wants to be a cop. So they're two totally different people, and we do have a lot of conversation, and they probably know more than a lot of kids their age, because we are very open and honest with our kids, and we kind of have to be because of our life. You know, my husband being military, police officer, we've taken shootouts, hospital, so it's like that's kind of like our real life. Like, obviously, outside of my kid playing that as the perpetrator, if you will, but there are things that he chooses not to do in that game because he believes they're wrong, like visit the prostitutes.
No, I do have an interesting question. A lot of times we get parents on here, I'll see in the chat, where a parent is not comfortable with their kid playing something like GTA 5 or Call of Duty, which is fine. If they're under the age and the parent doesn't want them playing those games, it's completely fine. And one thing that they struggle with constantly are other kids bragging that they're allowed to play it. Now, we've never been on this end where we are talking with a parent that you let your kids. Are you worried about them kind of bragging what they're allowed to play with their friends that aren't allowed to play? How would you handle that? How do you approach that? Do they understand that most kids their age aren't allowed to play the type of games that they're playing?
They actually, again, we live in a really poor rural community, so a lot of the kids in our schools, their parents aren't around as much as we are, whereas I work entirely from home, so I do have the ability to monitor my kids and kind of be influential of them on a more regular basis than some other parents do, versus letting their friends shape a lot more of, like, their identity and how they think and what they say. So I don't really know that our kids are on the spectrum of where they're allowed to do things that other kids aren't. Our kids are actually more on the spectrum of they're not allowed to do things that a lot of other kids around here are allowed to do.
Okay.
Just because of, I think a lot of it's where we live,
Yeah.
and
You do live out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can vouch for that. It is out in the sticks.
It's on the sticks.
Very much so.
Like, it actually feels like you went through some sort of teleportation and you ended up in the middle of Alabama.
Oh, okay.
Like, it's the same. There's no difference. They're so far East Texas, it might as well be in the middle of Podunk, Alabama. It's exactly the same. Kia, do you have any other follow-up questions you have for Nikki?
No. She's pretty much like how I am when it comes to games, you know. So.
Yeah, you're very similar, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've thought that about you for a long time, Kia. But like I said, I'm pretty good friends with Nikki and her husband. Now, Nikki, before we let you go, thanks to you, the Last Choice Network, all of our podcasts, and my personal streams are going to now be sponsored by ID Life. And if you're listening to the recording or watching on YouTube, hopefully we'll have a link that you can click on to get any of their products. But Nikki, while you're here, would you like to talk a little bit about ID Life, what it is, what there is to offer, and what kind of benefits?
Will do. But before we do that, I did want to follow up on one question that you asked me earlier.
Okay.
And you said in the list, which was what he chose to do with the money that he made.
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
And I actually think this kind of goes to show, like, sorry, I'm trying to,
Hold
who
on,
they
we're
are.
losing you. We're losing you.
Is that better?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so what he did with the $20 that he got off of his TikTok stream.
Yeah, so I actually think that it says a lot about who he is and what he really believes deep down in, like, who he is. So he gave me $5 to help with the groceries because he knows that groceries are getting
You
more
just melted
expensive.
Kia's heart. Look at she's about to cry.
No.
He gave
She's gonna play this. She's gonna edit this, and this is gonna be in Kane's. Like he'll fall asleep to this every night for the next 7 years.
he gave $5 to his older brother because him and his older brother do stuff like that for each other all the time. They'll be like, one of them will want something and the other one will have some extra money, and they'll be like, hey, can I use my money to buy this for them? So they do that kind of stuff for each other all the time. And then he took about a day to decide between if he wanted a COD mod for a gun or if he wanted this thing he wanted on Roblox. Well, he decided to go with Roblox because he could reinvest it into the game and do new things for people who might be watching. Whereas if he got the mod on Call of Duty, he would just be using it kind of for fun, and it would not really have any kind of return on his investment. So, I mean, at 11 years old, like those are the decisions he made and came to all on his own. I did not tell him what he could or could not do with his money. Our thing is, if it's your money, you can spend it how you want. But just know that if you spend it all right now because you just want to spend it and there's something you want later, you might be foregoing that later thing.
Yeah, that's what I tell Kane all the time when he's wanting something. I'm like, just understand that once it's gone, it's gone. There's no more. You don't get to, but I want, well, you already spent it, so you don't get. So,
yeah.
But
I mean, he gave away 50% of what he made.
Yeah, that's really
and then
awesome,
decided
though.
to reinvest the remaining versus just spending it on something for fun.
Seems like something Kane would do. He actually gave me $5 the other day for beating a dragon on stream.
Nice.
He's like, "Here, Mom." I was like, "Oh, yeah, thanks." Oh my gosh. Okay, so Bluey had a few more a few more comments. So yeah, troubled lived places, no matter how good you parent, your child will almost inevitably fall victim to circumstances you've gone to all ends to try and prevent, which is true. We can't, my biggest thing is like, you can't prevent everything, but you sure as hell can try.
Yeah, exactly.
You can try. But you can also give them the tools of how to face that problem too when you come in, which is actually something Blue brings up. And it's difficult dealing with that kind of stuff, finding ways to make your kids understand what to do when faced with those challenges and having the audacity to not fall into peer pressure and do what everyone else is doing, saying because it is socially convenient to do so. So it's honestly, that's what I said. It's giving them those tools because yes, we can't prevent everything. As much as parents as we want to bubble wrap our babies so they don't ever feel any type of pain or hurt, we can't. But we can give them the tools on how to deal with it. So I think that's a big thing too, is being able to give them those tools to deal with when someone does come in. And if you don't happen to be there when someone's bullying them, you've given them the tools on how to face that bully and what to do. Like, you've given them those tools. And to me, as a parent, that's amazing. That's all you can, like, that's the best you can do. You've tried to prevent the situation, but we all know what do bullies do? They will weasel their little ways in. They will find their ways in, and they will do whatever they can. And so giving them the tools to be able to, like, confront it or handle it is the best we can do. If, like, we want to prevent it, but there's only so much we can do. We can't be 100% all the time as much as we want to be. So where Bluey grew up, or where Bluey lives, is pretty bad. had school at school, like young kids already discovering pornography and other weird stuff, dark humor on the internet at anywhere from ages 9 and 13.
Yeah, you'll even see it younger
And
than that now.
I know, and that's like I don't even understand it. I'm like, why? I'm like, dang, at that
Be a
at that
kid.
age, I was
Just be a
pretending to
kid.
be an animal or something, you know, like
Well, they're being an animal.
yeah, not like that though. And then sharing it with other friends, and it gets to the point where basically everyone is exposed, like a plague. You know, like just everybody's exposed to it at some point. Let's see, but yeah, usually kids won't like the idea of being singled out or alienated, and so they'll often say things or get into things if others are as well. But let's see, and dealing with that as well as just pretty difficult. It is difficult. But like I said, I still feel if you as a parent, like if you are willing to, you set the ground rules, you try to prevent anything and everything that you feel like would harm your child in any way, whether it's emotional, physical, or whatever, you still want to prevent that. But we can't always prevent everything. So if you can at least give them the tools on how to confront and deal with those situations, that's the best tool you can give your child. You're the best tool you can. And let them know, like I tell my son all the time, it's 100% okay to be different and not agree with someone on their opinion and still respect them. I said, but make sure that they understand your boundaries as well. They need to understand and respect your boundaries just as much as you do theirs. Because, and if they don't, then you need to walk away and tell them no more. You're like, okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm not dealing with you. Bye. Like you're not willing to respect me, then I'm not going to partake in this conversation any longer and move away. And he's 6. I mean, I don't feel like I should have to have that conversation, but at the same time, I still want, I mean,
you're going to be prepared to be able to have it.
He had a kid try to push him down the slide that he didn't want to go down. And he was like, I'm not going down the slide. And he did like this. He's like, I'm not going down the slide. Like, you're not pushing me. And this kid was a lot bigger than him. And I was like, that's right. You stand your ground. Like, now, as a parent, eventually I did step in because the kid was touching my child. And I was like, hey, no pushing up there. And the other kid was like, oh. I don't know where that parent was at. But I am that parent that is not afraid to parent your child if you are absent. But
I believe that adults are just as influential as kids are, especially if as kids they were not taught those things and they were never given the opportunity to make decisions for themselves, even if they were wrong decisions. Because as adults, we make wrong decisions all the time. And adults, you know, I grew up in a really bad area in Fontana, California. You know, we literally had shootings on our street. You know, my friends at 12 and 13 were having adult relations, since I don't know who's listening to this. And that was not something that I ever chose to do. And same as, you know, same as with video games as with our kids' friend circles. We don't tell them who they are and are not allowed to be friends with until they start letting the influence of others determine what their actions are. Once we see them letting others' influence determine how they're behaving, acting, things that they're saying, then we remove them from that situation as their parent. But we want to give them the freedom to make the right choice. And really, yes, it is so much harder for a good, positive, you know, person who makes the right choices to influence the negative to do the right thing, but it's still possible. Yeah. And just like our kids know, the more you surround yourself with negative people who do the wrong thing, the more likely you are to make those bad choices. And then you will not be allowed to hang out with those people anymore. So make the good choices in your friends who want you to be a good person.
Yeah, I agree. You are who you are. You are who you surround yourself with. If you don't surround yourself with positive, then you're not going to be a positive person. If you surround yourself with a bunch of negativity, that's all you're going to be is a bunch of negative.
And that's from 5 years old to 80.
It doesn't matter, even as an adult.
Yeah,
Even as an adult,
might
there
be
are
more.
people.
Might be more for us.
There are people that I can be around, and I'm like, oh, if you are, oh no, you are too much for me. I can't handle you. You are too negative. I can't do it
Are
right
you ever
now.
around a certain group where your own husband will tell you you need to get away from them?
Yes.
Because I feel
He's
like
babe.
your personality can go hardcore really quickly, one way or the other.
Oh yeah, one way or the other. I can be very like but another thing is like I wear my heart on my sleeve, so it's like a lot of times people see that and they see it as a weakness and they like just latch on. They're like, "Hi, I'm gonna suck all your energy away," and then my husband comes in and goes, "No." No,
Nikki,
you
I have a
can't
feeling
do
that Josh and Sean would probably get along really well together.
Like
Sounds like
I 100%. My husband is definitely my backbone because a lot of times I'm just like I'm too nice for my own good. I'm like way too nice. So
Well,
yeah.
so we don't drag this out too much longer. I want to wrap this up. Nikki, thanks again for stopping by. But before you leave, like I did say, all of the Last Choice Network podcast and my personal stream, whether it's the horror podcast, anime podcast, or Parents versus Gaming, we are going to partner with ID Life now. And I would love for you to kind of explain what it is and what kind of benefits anyone that's watching or what they can get out of it.
super, super excited. So James knows that we've been using the products for quite some time. But if you saw me drinking this is actually a hydrate. So this is what my kids drink when they're gaming, or like what I drink if it's been like a long day out on the farm or something. It's just short chain electrolytes, so it gets into your system. And even people with like mitochondrial diseases or other kinds of health issues that can't typically absorb certain nutrients, they can get them out of this. This is a nice like little energy bump for all you gamers who need to stay up for hours and hours and hours. We actually have an energy drink that's all natural and has time released caffeine in it. So you get like a bump of energy every couple hours. You get half up front, so it's 175 milligrams of caffeine, which is only about as much as 2 cups of coffee. But you get half of it up front, and then every couple hours you get another boost naturally. Plus it has GABA in it, which helps with your mental focus, with your creativity, with your memory. So it increases your VO2 max if you're like working out, so your body kind of oxygenates itself better, gets blood to where it needs to go, which means of course too your organs and your brain function better. So it's a really, really great energy drink for people who want to game but kind of don't want to stick all that junk in their bodies. And it's cheaper than buying a Bang or a Red Bull a day, and a lot better for your system. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff we offer, but like our DNA tests, which tell you basically exactly how you need to eat, exercise, and live for your healthiest self. But those two products really, I think, for gamers who are looking for energy, those are the best.
So we are going to add a discount link to all of our stuff. So what does that get them, Nikki? If they click on any of the links in our descriptions,
they will be taken to your store and they will get 10% off. They will just put in the coupon code as
just
they're
the
checking
energy
out.
drink or any of the products for ID Life?
Any of the products.
Okay. Perfect. Well, Nikki, thank you so much. Kia, where can people find you?
Find me on Twitch. That's usually where I'm at.
Now, are you streaming the rest of the night? Are you staying on?
I don't know. I'm gonna see what everybody else wants to do. If they want me to stay on and play a game, I'll probably pop in and play a game. Apex with the fam, yeah, might do that. So might be a family game night. Yes, my 6-year-old plays Apex. No, he is not allowed to play with randoms. He is only allowed to play with mom or dad. And or anybody I approve of, which with me, which is usually one of my mods, Adzi, who also has a son around Kane's age. I think he's like a year or two older than him. And a couple of my other people that I game with that I know are really good and not like crazy with themselves when I'm playing with him. So, but he has to always have at least mommy or daddy when he's playing.
Wait,
so.
now Kia, I did before now that you're talking about Kane, I missed a question earlier in my chat.
Oh.
Ender would like to know if Kane is banned from our streams.
He doesn't ever watch y'all streams.
Because I think you were mentioning whether that they were too adult or their language and all that.
I think he's ever
And-
like really
And
watched
Ender
y'all
goes,
stream.
Ender goes, I think Kia banned him from watching us.
I did not ban him from watching you guys. But usually, I'm not gonna lie, the people he watches stream is either me, which is rare,
Yeah, of course.
or he watches Little
Little
Nudes,
Nudes.
or Shock.
I
And
wouldn't watch us either. I wouldn't watch us either. We're too old and
he
boring.
loves watching. I'm sorry, Little Nudes and Shock are his best friends.
Yeah, but
and
Little
you cannot
Nudes is
tell
like
him
super
otherwise,
interactive
okay?
too. Little Nudes is amazing.
She really is. She's
Yeah.
crazy interactive with her chat, and I love it. I don't know how she reads her chat sometimes because she like jumps from one person and then like she'll jump to
I'm
another
pretty
one.
sure
And you're
she
like, wait,
just has
what?
an IV of 5-hour energy going.
These are
into
like
her.
two different conversations she's having, but she's like all over the place, and she's so good at catching people. Most of the time, every once in a while she'll miss something, but a lot of time, like she'll tell you, like if she misses something, just repeat it. Like she's like, I'm okay with like if you need to repeat the question because I admit she admits she's human. She misses stuff too. It
Yeah, of
happens. Her
course.
chat sometimes her chat just pops and it's just like rolling. So
Yeah,
and as one of her
absolutely.
mods, whoo, sometimes I'm like, oh god.
It's work. It's like a job.
It really is.
Well, guys,
So,
thank you so much for stopping by. Nikki, once again, thank you so much for coming on as a guest. I'm sure we'll bring you back. We would love to find out how Caleb's streaming life is going as he gets a little bit more set up and isn't just going from camera to camera. So when you get a little bit more updates or he gets some sort of live setup, we would love to have you come back and let us know how he's doing. Kia, thanks again. As always, everyone in Kia's chat or my chat, thank you guys so much for stopping by. Once again, you can catch us on all podcast platforms. You can either look up Last Choice Network or Parents vs. Gaming. We also have lastchoicenetwork.com, which will show all of our different podcasts as well. They're easy to get to. And we are on every place you can get an audio podcast is where it's there. It doesn't matter if it's Spotify, Apple, whatever. And then, of course, on the Parents vs. Gaming YouTube channel. Thank you guys so much for stopping by, and we will see you guys next Sunday. Good night, everybody.